Some of you will remember a story I told a while ago. And it was of a man who called into a radio talk show on AM radio. I was listening one day some years ago. And I remember he called the talk show host to say, "You've had a huge impact on my life. You don't know me, but I want to tell you what you did for me." And he said, "I used to be a pilot, an Air Force F-4 Phantom pilot." Now, for me, those are real numbers and letters and words, because in my time in the Air Force, I was stationed on a base, which was RAF Alconbury, a base in England, where the pilots on our flight line flew those jets. They flew the F-4 Phantoms and A-10 Thunderbolts and the TR-1, which used to be the U-2 spy plane. So I have fond memories of the sounds of those aircraft as they would take off on the flight line. And what this man said was, he said, "I was paralyzed, fully paralyzed after being an Air Force pilot." He said, "One day while I was still in service, I had a terrible car crash and became paralyzed, wheelchair bound the rest of his life." And he said, "And I became incredibly angry, not just for a short period, but really to this day." And he said, "What happened was, I used to be that angry guy in the wheelchair that would come into the shop, the angry guy in the wheelchair who would wander around town, wheel himself around town, and everybody kept clear of me." He said, "And one day I listened to you and you were talking about something or other, and you changed my perspective. What you taught me was that I could change. I couldn't change my circumstances. I couldn't get myself out of that wheelchair, but I could change the man that was sitting in it." And it really struck me. He said, "I decided I still have to be the guy in the wheelchair, but I don't have to be the angry guy in the wheelchair. I still have to be the guy who is paralyzed from a tragic accident that took away the joys and the thrills of flying and the rest of mobility and life that he had before." He said, "But what you taught me in that single moment in a broadcast was that I didn't have to be unapproachable. I didn't have to be self-centered, focused on my own problems. Instead, I could be somebody that people enjoyed and looked forward to meeting along the road of life." Well, I hope that resonates with you, because all of us have versions of that story, whether it's coronavirus and how it's affected us, our businesses, our loved ones, our plans, our summer vacation, the trips, the ideas, all the dreaming that we did. Get to decide whether we want that to confine us, or whether we're going to allow that just to shape our story. We're writing these incredible stories, and every one of us gets shift points. We get to be the ones who decide whether the story will be written about us and for us by time and circumstance, or whether we're going to today grab the pen and say, "No more. I need to be writing my story. This is an autobiography. Nobody's writing this for me. I'm going to write the next page, and it's going to be glorious, generous, beautiful, and maybe even happy."